Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Baba Kivarnati Gopi Jana Baba Kivarnati Gopi Jana Baba Kivarnati Gopi Jana Baba Yashodananda Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodananda Prajajantarangena Yashodananda Prajajantarangena Munatira Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Nitai Gora Hari 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 Nitai Gora Hari Jai Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Shtataya Satashila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Shla Haridas Thakur ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Dham ki Ganga Maya ki Yamuna Maya ki Tulasi Deva ki Bhakti Deva ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan ki Brihat Madanga ki Srila Prabhupada ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Agoura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale. Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi. Gauravani Pracharini Nirvasesha Shanyavari Paschacha Deshata. Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Hare Krishna. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good. Whatever it is, good. We are together, and thank you so much for joining us. For ourselves, this is the morning. We're not mourning, we're celebrating. Today being the appearance day of Janananda Mata, the divine consort of Lord Nityananda, the appearance day of Sita Thakurani, the divine consort of Lord Ramchandra, and the appearance day of, I think, or disappearance, I can't remember, Madhu Pandit, great associate or great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has established the Radha Gopinath worship in Vrindavan. So these are a very auspicious day. Every day for Vaishnavas is auspicious if we are remembering Krishna. And how better way to remember Krishna than associate with each other and chant the holy name of Krishna and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So this morning we're going to carry on, and many of you have joined us, some for the first time, I believe. I'm not sure exactly, but I think so, because your residence is in New Zealand or Australia, and we're very happy to get this chance now to associate a little more with you, with Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada in the center of our association. So we're going to carry on where we were last night with the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. And in a few minutes we'll ask Rasikananda Prabhu to put the verse up. Not now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning or today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 7th canto, chapter 9, text 42. So if Rasikananda Prabhu kindly put the verse up if he's with us. We hope he's with us. I think he's doing now. Yeah, here it comes. And this verse, today's verse, is very wonderful because this verse was the last verse that Srila Prabhupada lectured on in Mayapur in 1976. After lecturing on this verse that morning, sometime during the day, Srila Prabhupada left Mayapur and went to Calcutta. And interesting enough, he carried on lecturing on the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. The next verse, please, Rasika, number 42. Number 42, that's 41. He carried on lecturing from these verses in Calcutta, Delhi, and Vrindavan. They're a very dear and important, and very important section of Srimad Bhagavatam. With Nrsimha Chattadasi very much coming up in a few days. So it mentioned last night, it is very appropriate that we have the proper approach to service to Lord Nrsimhadev. Pardon?
I think there's a problem with the share screen. This is all that they're able to see.
Oh, so you're not going to see it. It's not the end of the world. You put me back on. Okay, please cancel. The share screen is not coming up for we do not know what reason. So I'm afraid you're going to have to look at something else the next 5 minutes. There we go. And you won't be, unless you have on the mobile.
Oh, it's working.
Oh, apparently it's working now. Here it comes. Can you see it? I don't know how you're going to tell me. I can't see you. So hopefully you can see it now. 7:9:42 Srimad Bhagavatam. Now it may not be in Scroll down. Let me see the verse, please. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, back we go to the verse itself. The Sanskrit verse, please.
Maharaj, we got a message that the devotees, they can see it.
Yeah, that's good. So, okay, that's it. You got it. And as much as possible. Yeah, good. Fabulous. So, if you wish, one time we'll go through it. This beautiful verse of Prahlad Maharaj. Konvatra te kila guru bhagavan prayasa. Konvatra te kila guru bhagavan prayasa. Uttaranesha bhava sambhava lopaheto. Uttaranesha bhava sambhava lopaheto. Mudeshu vai maharanugraha artabandho. Mudeshu vai maharanugraha artabandho. King te priyajana anusevatana. King te priyajana anusevatana. I'll read it word for word this morning. We haven't been doing it, but this morning we will. I'll just go through it once. Kaha, what is that? Nu, indeed. Atra, in this matter. Te, of your lordship. Akila Guru, O supreme spiritual master of the entire creation. Bhagavan, O supreme Lord, O personality of Godhead. Prayasaha, endeavor. Uttarane, for the deliverance of these fallen souls. Asya, of this. Bhava of creation and maintenance. Lopa, and of annihilation. Hetaho, of the cause. Mudeshu, unto the foolish persons rotting in this material world. Vai, indeed. Mahat anugraha, compassion by the Supreme. Arta bandhu, O friend of the suffering living entities. Kim, what is the difficulty? Tena, with that. Te, of your lordship. Priya Janan, the dear devotees. Anusevatam, of those always engaged in serving. Naha, like us, who are so engaged. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you? You manage the affairs of the universe in delivering the fallen souls engaged in your devotional service. You are the friend of all suffering humanity, and for great personalities, it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore, I think that you will show your causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your service. Purport. Hear the words. Priya Janan Anusevatam indicate that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very favorable to devotees who act according to the instructions of his own pure devotee. In other words, one must become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. If one wants to become the servant of the Lord directly, this is not as fruitful as engaging in the service of the Lord's servant. This is the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who shows us the way to become Gopi Bhatu Padakamala Dasa Dasa Nudasa. One should not be proud of becoming directly the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, one must seek a pure devotee, a servant of the Lord, and engage oneself in the service of such a servant. The more one becomes the servant of the servant, the more one becomes perfect in devotional service. This is also the injunction of Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. One can understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the parampara system. In this regard, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, Tandaracharana Seni Bhaktasani Vas. Let me serve the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord, and let me live with devotees. Janame Janame Hoy Eha Bilash. Following Narottam Das Thakur, one should aspire to be a servant of the Lord's servant. Life after life. Lost it there. Where are we? We go to the book. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur also sings, Tumita Thakura Tomara Thakura Alya Janhara More. O my Lord, O Vaishnava, please consider me your dog. One must become the dog of a Vaishnava, a pure devotee. For a pure devotee can deliver Krishna without difficulty. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para. Krishna is the property of his pure devotee. And if we take shelter of a pure devotee, he can deliver Krishna very easily. Prahlad wants to engage in the service of a devotee, and therefore he prays to Krishna, my dear Lord, kindly give me the shelter of your very dear devotee, so that I may engage in his service, and you may then be pleased. Mad bhakta puja vyatika. The Lord says, engaging the service of my devotee is better than trying to engage in my devotional service. Another significant point in this verse is that by devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj does not want to benefit alone. Rather, he prays to the Lord that all of us fallen souls in this material world may, by the grace of the Lord, engage in the service of his servant and thus be delivered. The grace of the Lord is not at all difficult for the Lord to bestow, and thus Prahlad Maharaj wants to save the whole world by spreading Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Rasikananda, can you stop the share? Thank you.
Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shvapadati Kam. Hare Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada was talking on this verse, he spoke about how Prahlad Maharaj was addressing the Lord. In this verse we see, you can't see it now, but here it's described, Bhavasambhava Lopaheto, that everything is resting on Krishna. He's the cause of everything. He's the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Sometimes we hear Vishnu is maintaining, but actually the entire creation, maintenance, and destruction is going on under Krishna's direction. Maya Jakshena Prakriti Sute Sucharacha. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna this principle. Important principle to know that nothing is actually separated from Krishna. No matter what it is, even the diverse effects that we experience in this world, which we may describe as good or bad, directly or indirectly, everything is coming from Krishna. Through the three modes of nature, it may be that the apparent, what we see, does not seem to be something favorable. Just like now, we're experiencing worldwide practically. This is also the energy of Krishna. Perverse, reflected through the modes of nature. It's like if you take the sun reflects differently off of different objects. If the sun reflects off of a mirror, you get a very bright reflection. If it reflects off of water, depending again on the degree of the cleanliness of the water, what type of reflection we will experience. If it reflects off of wood, simply you see wood. There's practically no reflection. A stone, maybe pen, some stones. It's the object which it reflects on, which is what we experience. So, like that in this material world, the entire material world, Srila Prabhupada writes this world exists because of the desire of the living entity. It's not that the living entity creates this world, but the living entity's desire is the cause of Krishna's creation of this world. Otherwise, there is no need of it. Sometimes we think, and sometimes people ask, maybe we mentioned it yesterday, I can't remember. So some people say that, well, if everyone takes up Krishna consciousness, what will happen to the world? There'll be nobody left. Prabhupada said, yes, you have understood. That is our mission. But he said, don't worry, that won't happen. Even if everybody in this world takes up Krishna consciousness, don't worry. There are plenty of other souls waiting in the waiting room, waiting for their turn. Dormant living entities. There are countless living entities, unending. And Krishna, Prabhupada gave examples like a tree. And many times we hear this example, how a tree is reflected in the water. And when a tree is reflected, it's upside down. The roots are up and the branches are down when it's reflected in the water. You stand on a river bank or a lake, whatever, you see it like that. And sometimes you can't tell which is the real one if you don't know. They're so, the water is so clean and so peaceful that there's no movement. It's just like that. It looks like the real one. And if you don't know the real one, that's all you're going to know. So we're like that. We're like in the reflection of the spiritual realm in the material world. Devi Dham, this material world of Durga Devi, who appears to be doing everything. We don't see any cause beyond Durga. Like a child, I'm sure many of you have had children, and they don't see beyond the effect. They don't understand what's going on behind the effect. They just don't understand that you have to work hard to get money, to pay someone, to build something, or to arrange something. They just see the effect, an electric appliance, whatever it may be. They don't have that understanding of the whole picture and what's behind it, who manufactured it, how it's powered, and so on. Generally speaking, they don't even think of that. They just see the effect, the toy or the instrument, whatever it is that they're relating with. But similarly, in this material world, we're like that. We're like children who don't see beyond the coverings of this material world, the immediate covering. Or somebody who's lived in one room their whole life, they can't imagine anything outside of that room existing practically. Prabhupada tells the story of the frog in the well. The frog in the well, when the frog's friend, I don't know, Billy the frog, that's a goat, what's the frog, whatever his name is, comes and visits his friend who's lived in the same well for his whole life. The frog in the well, let's call him Joey. Joey, he has no idea that there's anything outside of his well. When Billy, his friend, tells him there's an enormous body of water. Billy's been to the ocean, you see. And Joey has been locked up in his well his whole life. And he starts to describe how this enormous ocean exists. You should come and see. So many frogs, so many things are there. It's unbelievable. Come and have a look. And he said, I don't believe all this. There's a body of water bigger than my well? No. And he tries to, expand his thing. And of course, eventually he explodes. Boom, blows himself up. It's a little like that in the material world. We cannot conceive something beyond their conception. Fair enough, you could say that, but we're not willing to accept it either. If I can't measure it, it can't exist. Or we will measure it, and then we'll accept it. This humility which people have in this material world is inconceivable, it's unlimited. And Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, this is one of the understandings of Maya. Maya is that which you can measure. You can't measure absolute truth. You can't measure the spiritual world. We try to measure things in this material world, and that means we're under the influence of Maya, basically speaking. So we try to measure the reflection of this world. And Prabhupada said it's like that. Now, if that tree is on the river bank, and we look in the river, you see the reflection. Now, if it's very rough, if the water's rough, the reflection is very troubled. All over the place. So that's like the situation in the world. It's not like a clean reflection. It's a perverted one. Through the modes of mature nature, which are working under Krishna's direction. So you get a perverted reflection of the purity of the spiritual world manifesting before us. So the living entity is witnessing this. We are the witness of this reflection of the material world. And because of ignorance and being entrapped in this prison-like, Durga-like material world, the living entity is constantly trying to adjust the waves of the material world so we feel peace in the ocean of material existence. Constantly. Now, that only reflects, if the tree does not reflect, you get a shadow. Okay, there's no reflection as such. If there is no body of water, if it's just earth, you don't get a reflection as such. You get a shadow maybe, not a reflection. It's a different effect. So for this particular example, we're giving this, Prabhupada likened the body of water to the desires of the living entity. Separatist desires. We're looking away from Krishna. So because we're looking away from Krishna, the jiva has this free will, aversion, affection, which is manifest in this material world also in relationship to Krishna's energy. But ultimately it's the characteristic of the soul. It's not a material combination of material elements exactly. It has its origins in the soul the actual living entity. Otherwise, material energy is just inert, basically. So it's the living entity's choice. And thus, the various material, Krishna reciprocates with the living entity through the material energy accordingly, and we experience various effects. But they're all under the control of Durga. Now, I'm going to read a verse here from the Brahma Samhita, because Prabhupada taught from this verse when he lectured on this particular verse from the Bhagavatam. He didn't focus in on the main point of the purport. It was interesting. He spoke mainly about Krishna's position of being the supreme controller, maintainer, etc. of this energy, material and spiritual. I'm just going to read the verse. If I start reading the purport, you'll probably get a bit lost. I will probably too. Purport is by Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. We know that sometimes his language is a little high for us, lowly creatures. The external potency Maya, who is the nature of the shadow of the chit potency. Chit potency is the internal energy of the Lord. Srimati Radharani is the personification of that chit potency, that internal energy. The external potency Maya, or Durga, is of the nature of the shadow of the chit potency. Is worshipped by people as Durga. Maybe not everyone has heard of Durga, but probably most of you have, if you're familiar with Krishna consciousness. But Durga is you can say, the named form of the material energy, or Maya, the reflection of Radharani. Reflection, shadow of Radharani. People worship her, as we're all worshippers of Durga in this material world, because we're all trying to extract favors, improve the kingdom of Durga Devi. We're all doing things, religion, praying. Please improve things around us. Please this, that. We're all directly or indirectly basically worshipping Durga Devi without knowledge. Even Kamsa was a great worshipper of Durga Devi. And when Krishna was, by his arrangement, he was transferred from the prison house of Kamsa. Vasudeva carried baby Krishna across the Yamuna to Gokul, and then returned with the baby daughter of Yasoda Devi. And by the arrangement of Yoga Maya, also everything was arranged nicely. And then when Vasudeva came back with the baby daughter, nobody knew that the child had been born at that time. And then when the child started crying, everyone was awoken, and Kamsa came in great fear and anger to kill the baby. So he attempted to kill the baby girl. He didn't even notice it was a girl. He was so infuriated, so fearful. He tried to smash the child to death. And of course, the child slipped out of his hands, rose up in the sky, and manifested her form as Durga. And Kamsa was shocked out of his skin that his worshipable deity, he just tried to kill his worshipable deity, basically. And in one sense, this is our material life. We're destroying the very provider, or we're trying to destroy the provider, deny the provider, offend the provider, get rid of him, there is no provider. It's really a sorrowful state. I'm kind of laughing in a sense, in an indirect way, but it's a very sorrowful state that we're in. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is praying for all of those in this sorrowful state. We're all in the same bucket. We may have a little bit of knowledge, but we're not yet, well, I can't say everybody, I can say for myself, certainly not out of this mentality of, trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, not seeing his, presence everywhere, etc. And then the verse finishes already. So people are worshipping Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of the mundane world. She's, in that sense, she's working under Krishna's direction. She's working under Krishna's direction. And beware the soul, prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani savasha. The foolish people in this illusion world, or this world of Maya, this shadow or reflection, depends on using the example. People living in this world in general, they're foolishly like this. They're thinking like this, that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. They don't see beyond it. Of course, to some extent, we are the doer, because based upon our desire, everything's arranged. But if we have this desire to please Krishna, then there'll be no need of material world. Of course, it'll always be there, because Prabhupada said that will always be there. But besides that, it's the field where we can actually experience this great opportunity to preach, to share the holy name, the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the spiritual world, that's another realm, you could say, of service. But in this material world, a genuine devotee is one who is compassion. He's an ocean of compassion. And his compassion is, you could say, is not just a compassion of seeing suffering living entities, which is not difficult to see. We're one of them. But we're certainly seeing so many around us right now. It's a vivid example. Billions of people suffering. It's always there in a pure devotee, but it brings it out even in the impure devotees. It may come out in a mixed way, that we have a mixed material spiritual compassion. But nonetheless, it brings something out there. But the pure devotee's compassion is not just for that the living entities are endlessly suffering in this world. What to do about it? What to do about it? Their compassion is much broader. Their compassion is to the root. Their compassion is for Krishna. Just like Srimati Radharani is the expansion of Krishna's compassionate nature. So what does that mean? Radharani's only feeling, only desire is to increase Krishna's pleasure, which is quite something, isn't it? He's Atmarama. Even from their angle, we understand he's Atmarama. They don't use terms like that on the spiritual realm. But the basic thing, he is a reservoir. He's always self-satisfied. But the devotee is always trying to think how to increase Krishna's pleasure. That's the mood of a pure devotee, manifested in fullness in Srimati Radhika. So Radharani, she's always thinking of how to increase Krishna's pleasure. By various expansions, she expands herself in various gopis and shaktis and so on and so forth to increase Krishna's pleasure. But to Tatastha Shakti being, or that's a jiva, us, we're marginal. We're also meant for that purpose. That's the real business of the living entity. All energies are meant for Krishna's pleasure. So we're also meant for Krishna's pleasure. But we've turned away. Most jivas don't. Most jivas are not. But we have. We've turned away from that, you can say, realm, or the spiritual realm, where everybody and everything is for Krishna's pleasure. And we've entered into this dreamlike state in the material world. We're trying to think of things for my pleasure. So the compassion is that we're meant to bring pleasure to Krishna. So the pure devotees are thinking that Krishna's pleasure could be increased if the living entities are reconnected. But just like if one of your children goes away, the only thing that will please you if we return that child to you. That's the only thing that will please you. Same with disciples. Prabhupada would cry when disciples would go away sometimes. He was sometimes externally he would cry. And he was so happy when they would come back. We've been reading Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava the last few days. And the same thing there. When one of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's disciples would come back, he would be overwhelmed in pleasure. He would embrace them, welcome them back. He was so happy. So Krishna is a person. We're persons. We all have that experience. Dead stones don't. If two stones are separated and they put them back together, you don't see much reaction there. Animals, a little bit also, you see reaction there. Maybe not as much as humans, but the reaction is there for sure. Because they're persons. So Krishna is the supreme person. And we're all meant to be connected with Krishna. That's the real essence of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, is that he wants Krishna's pleasure to be increased by reconnecting all the living entities. Why did Prabhupada come to the Western world? Why did he preach? Why did he take on the austerity that he did? Krishna's pleasure. How is that understood? Through the agency of the pure devotee. We cannot understand what is that. We may speculate, I like to serve Krishna this way, I think like this. Oh, there are so many speculations we may have in our dreamlike state, in our conditioned state. But the pure devotee is connected. And how is he connected? Through the parampara, through the disciplic succession to Krishna. That was a lifeline coming into this material ocean, we could say. There's a lifeline. This material world is dark, basically. There's a lifeline coming in, and the pure devotees are the lights, shining light onto this dark world. We just have to take the light. We have to take that light and follow that light. And they will guide us out of this material world. That's the lifeline of the parampara, which goes back to the original root, Krishna, whom we've forgotten, whom we may not have too much, say, devotion towards at this point of time. But by associating with the pure devotees, holding on to their instructions, even though it's a bit rocky sometimes. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go on holidays from England. Oftentimes we would go to a place called the Channel Islands. You may never have heard of the Channel Islands. If you're from France, they're right next to the French coast. We used to go there, and sometimes we go to Saint Malo in France also for a day's outing. We used to go, my father worked in the railway, so we used to get free boat rides into the railways. So we would go for our holidays there quite often. I remember 5, 6 years old, 7 years old. I didn't know what was going on. We were in this boat, and to me, the boat was horrible because sometimes the water would be going, it was rough, and the boat would be going up, down, and I would get seasick, and I was crying. I can still remember it, crying and crying and crying. Mommy, I want to get off the boat. I want to get off the boat. I thought the boat was the cause of the problem. And I was angry because she wouldn't let me off the boat. Because she knew the cause is not the boat, the cause is something else. Huh? But we forget that. We think that, the cause is the immediate, what we're immediately experiencing. But that's just the immediate cause. But the real cause is way beyond that. And we think we can adjust. It's interesting. There's another verse in the 7th chapter, actually, of the 9th chapter of the 7th canto. I'll read it. This is a few verses earlier than the one we've been reading. And this is text 19, if you want to look it up on your mobile, or whatever you've got. Another verse of Prahlad, one of his prayers. It's a beauty. My dear Lord Nrsimhadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls, neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and a mother cannot protect their child. They try, but ultimately it's beyond their control. A physician and the medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. We try, sometimes if karma, etc. is there, it may work. We try, we have to try. We can't guarantee it, even with the best medicine. We can't guarantee it. We've all experienced that. And a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. Everybody tries, but our endeavors are limited. It's not guaranteed. It's not in our power. It's not in our power to make it work. And we're very sad when it's not within our power. We get really disturbed. And if it works, we get really elated. It means we're on the material platform, even in relationship with God. We're seeing God as an order supplier. And we pray to him. Prabhupada gives the example many times. Different situations. In the Second World War is one example he gives. He said how the German ladies were praying, please God, please bring back my mother, my father, my husband, my brother, my son. And the English ladies were also praying, please bring back my father, brother, son, whatever, husband. And Prabhupada said, poor God. What are you supposed to do? Poor God. They're both praying, maybe win the war. What are you supposed to do? They're both wrong. They both think they're right, but they're both wrong. But what is God supposed to do? He reciprocates accordingly. We blame him, and we do, because we're on the material platform. Like a child, if you don't give the kid what he wants, He hates you. I hate you. I've heard kids say that to their parents. I hate you. The parents not giving them a, extra ice cream or whatever it is. They were like that in material. It's amazing. With all their science and all their medicine and all their education and material facilities, they're nothing more than sort of like slightly educated children, really. Even the animals are the same. If they don't get what they want, they become angry, right? Isn't it? They'll kill you sometimes. Fear or whatever, hunger. So we're just kind of like that to almost a complete extent. So how to see things differently? By the mercy of the pure devotee. How to change all that? Because we see that doesn't work. It simply doesn't. Even if we do endeavor to, and we're meant to endeavor to help others in this world, whether it's physically or whatever it is, mentally, etc. But ultimately, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem because we're still in the material world. We're still in an illusion. We still haven't understood who we are. So the pure devotees, they're not just patting us on the head and saying, bless you, bless your family. They may do that at the beginning stages or at a certain stage just to encourage us. But that's not the real blessing. That's not the real mercy. We get, as this purport of the verse we read in the beginning emphasizes, how we can get Krishna's mercy. It's only available through those pure devotees. Krishna doesn't give it. Prabhupada says here, neglected by you. They're not exactly neglected. It's like in any country, every country in the world, we have prisons. And in one sense, they're neglected. In one sense, the prisoners are stuck there and they're kind of neglected, but they're not. They're maintained also by the government. Now, whether it's nicely or not nicely, but they're basically maintained by the government. But in one sense, they're neglected. They're not given the freedom of the citizens who are not criminals. So we're kind of like that. But Krishna's always there. He's keeping an eye on us. And how he sends reformation. We have what's called reformation centers, where people who are, according to the government anyway, are behaving in ways which are unfavorable. They may place them there for reformation, change their character in the association of persons who are more expert at helping people to reform. So Krishna sends into this material world his most dear devotees. His most dear devotees. He may not even send. They choose to come. They desire. Krishna wants, but they desire also to come into this material world to wake us up, to bring us to our senses. Jeev Java, Jeev Java. Because Lord himself comes too. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, all different avatars are coming, but the Lord himself in his original form, as Gauranga Mahaprabhu appeared in this world to give us this opportunity to wake up. We don't want to wake up. Have you ever experienced that in the morning? Sometimes you don't want to wake up. Ever experienced that? Sometimes, yeah. People, we maybe experience, oh no, I don't want to. Especially sometimes kids, they just put the blankets over their heads and, stay there, depending on what time, what mode, and so on and so forth. But it is quite common. We don't want to wake up. Prabhupada says it's like a worm in stool. You take it out of the stool, and it quickly tries to get back in again. Very attached to its stool. That stool, the living entity, we were living last night, eating all sorts of abominable things. And they think that's very nice. They have a particular conditioned nature that stool is very attractive. I mean, if you went to the restaurant and you made an order of something or another, and they brought you a plate of stool, what would we think? Here would be wood headlines. You'd be in the news, that's for sure. We would be horrified, huh? A cup of urine and a plate of stool. We would be horrified. But if you're in the body of a hog would go crazy in ecstasy. We couldn't control their senses. Go wild. We've all got a different set of senses, and we think accordingly, different condition. This is nice and that's nice, but it's all falsity. It's not nice. It's all incompatible to the soul in reality. And it keeps us in this material world. These attachments, etc. We stay in this world, going spinning around. The pure devotees are trying to wake us up.
They bring the holy name, they bring Krishna form, they bring prasadam and say, I don't want it. You know, sometimes people say, I don't want it, I don't like it. Go away, you're causing a disturbance. Different people in different modes, but the devotee never gives up trying to wake us up. And it's how we please Krishna, how we can get it, how Krishna's the deliverer in this world, but he doesn't just deliver anyone just because they have some, business arrangement. He may reciprocate by giving or not giving, according to what is ultimately in their benefit. But the pure devotees, they never stop. They're always trying to awaken us, to deliver us. So they're oceans of mercy, oceans of compassion, Karuna Sindhu, ocean of mercy. And we have to just take shelter of those pure devotees and serve them. We can't serve Krishna directly in a contaminated state. Materialistic consciousness, materialistic body, etc. But through the media of the pure devotee, they kindly come into this world to give us this chance to connect with Krishna, knowingly or unknowingly, by accepting our service and offering it to Krishna. And this is the mood of, and those pure devotees don't even consider themselves directly connected. Even Lord Chaitanya is the famous stanza, isn't it? What's that verse? Naham vipro na chanarapati na pi vaisho na shubham naham vani na chibhapati no vanasto yatirva kintu projan nikila paramananda puramitamti gopir bharto padakamam dasa 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 dasa. What did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this prayer, by the way, wonderful prayer, came from the mouth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when it came, was at Rath Yatra. He chanted this before Lord Jagannath, before the Rath Yatra started. This is the origin of this prayer. I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, not a Vaishya, Shudra, not a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. What am I? You're a das. If you're not a das, you're an ass. Yes, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis, of the most, case of the gopis. Even the Lord himself is a servant of the gopis. He's a servant of the devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya said, I am a servant of my devotees. So what a speaker was. Even the Lord himself says he's a servant of his own devotees. They're more dear to him. The story is there in the 9th canto, Ambarish Maharaj Devas. How Devas was trying to get free from Sudarshan. He couldn't get free. Even Lord Narayan couldn't free him. But only if you get the blessing of my devotee, you have to go and beg for his mercy. The devotees are more dear to me than my own self. They're in my heart. I live for my devotees. I have no other purpose of existence. I do not enjoy anything without my devotees. Even Prabhupada, sometimes thinks, I want to serve the Guru, but Prabhupada was more pleased when we serve the devotees of the Guru, the disciples, rather than directly thinking, I'm going to serve Gurus. That may be a good fortune, we may have that direct chance sometimes, but the real service to the Guru is to please the other devotees, to serve them, to assist them in their service. This is the mood of a Vaishnava. This is the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, servant of the servant's servant. When Prabhupada was lecturing one time in Uppsala in Sweden, in 1972, I think, at that time, there was, Sweden particularly, the students were very communistic, very socialistic. Most students were like revolutionary, wanted to tear down the bourgeoisie, capitalist, tear them down. That was their philosophy. But Prabhupada chose to give a lecture. It was quite amazing. He started to talk upon the divisions of society of those things. There were first-class men, second-class men, third-class and fourth-class. The very last thing you'd expect to speak about in such a situation. With rowdy students, you could hear them all getting rowdy during the lecture. And eventually Prabhupada stopped and said, one man started to speak up. And a question? Yes. The Lama said, so, well, I suppose you think you're the first-class man, do you? He said to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm not. Then what are you? The man shouted. Prabhupada, because you talked about first, second, third, and fourth. And Prabhupada said, I'm fifth class. He never spoke about the fifth class. I am the servant of all classes, he said. Everyone's servant. And, people don't know what to make it. They all continued with their rowdy nature, Prabhupada just said, Kirtan. But this is the mood of a pure devotee. He sees himself as servant of everyone. Not that I'm the master. This mentality of being the master, even in service sometimes, doing this, that, the other, listen to me and so on. It's, for the service, sometimes we have to take a position, but in reality, it's the root of our being, this material world. I want to be the master. We're here to become servants of the servant, servant, servant. King Kulashekar, has beautiful prayers of King Kulashekar. How he also was praying like this. Huh? Imagine if you said this to your mother or your father when you were a young kid. What do you want to be when you get older, son or daughter? Oh, mommy, daddy, I like to be the servant of the servant, 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 servant. I don't know what mommy and daddy, well, I'm pretty much sure I know what mommy and daddy would say, but they probably wouldn't be very inspired. They probably wouldn't be very enlightened by such an answer. They would like you to hear you say, I'd like to become a surgeon. I'd like to become, a flight engineer. I'd like to become something, a CEO, big corporate. And parents will be very enlightened, huh? Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. They'll go all out their way to help you achieve it if they can. If you said, I want to become a servant of a servant, 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 as King Kulashekar said. Not just a servant of a servant of a servant, 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 and a servant of their servant. Down the line. This is Parampara. This is the Parampara line. We're not direct. We're going through the immediate contact and through the line of Parampara to Krishna. This is how the connection is there. It's not just somebody upstart just declares themselves as connection with Krishna. It doesn't work like that. It's through the line of Parampara as we just heard. So this is the beauty of devotion service. This is how Krishna consciousness will spread when we connect with that line of Parampara all the way back to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if we're connected, the effect of this will purify our hearts of all these perverse concepts, material desires, etc. Cleanse from our heart, and gradually the light in the presence of pure devotees, the light of our relationship with Krishna will manifest in that light of the association of the pure devotees. So we're finished. Any questions on our forum today? Thank you again for your association. We'll be online again on Monday night. It's something very long here.
It's just the purport.
Oh, it's the purport. I thought it was a question. It's just the purport. Why? Maybe another 10 minutes reading the question. If there are any questions, please feel free to type them in or whatever it is you do. I'd also like to mention, Rasikananda Prabhu can coordinate this. If anybody has suggestions regarding time or anything else, you can please relay them to Rasikananda Prabhu. If this time is more convenient I even see one devotee from America is online. I don't know the time in America now. It must be early morning. Oh, it's not too bad. 6 o'clock in the morning. Not too bad. 5 o'clock or something like that. If this is a good time, let me know. Of course, right now, most of us are probably working from home or not working at all. So at this point of the year, it might be a convenient time for most of you. Do you have any questions? I can see a hand going up, but you have to type it in. I'm not going to take it from hand. I know who it's from, and I know he has at least 50 questions. He penetrates the philosophy like nobody I know. Okay, here we go. Thank you for your company, everybody. It's very wonderful. Thank you to Rasikananda Prabhu and Yash, who's here with me for facilitating. Okay. Thank you very much, and thanks to all. Okay, very good. These are easy questions. What is the? There's nothing behind it. Okay, what is the? That's all it says. What is the? Okay, next one. One quick question, long answer. I hope not. You were mentioning that Prahlad Maharaj wanted to liberate everyone, even if he would not be liberated. What should we do as devotees to develop this mindset as well? Well, we should become devotees. One time, one devotee, I just cite many examples, it just comes to mind, but there was one time when one devotee wrote a beautiful poem to Srila Prabhupada in 1968 or 69. That's like a Vyasa Puja. I don't know if he even had it then, but he wrote this nice poem to Srila Prabhupada. And at the last line of each verse was, Srila Prabhupada, I just want to become a nice devotee. So Prabhupada said, it's a nice poem, like a father with a little child writing something very simple. But you should change the last line. He said, we're not eligible to be devotees. Our business is to try to become a servant of a devotee, he said. Not that we're thinking, I can be a devotee. He said, we're not eligible to be a devotee. We're only trying to become a servant of a devotee. So change it. So this is the mood of Prahlad. This is the mood that we should try to cultivate. Not that I'm a devotee. I've been a devotee 2 minutes longer than you. Listen to me. Okay? And that sometimes comes up, you know. Look, Prabhu, I'm a Brahmin. I'm senior to you. Listen to me. Sometimes we get this. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, we were reading, even amongst his disciples, this was very strong. Even they've been one day in the movement longer than the other. Sometimes this mentality came up, this kind of pride. If we're actually a devotee, we'll be more and more in the mood of service to others. This is the mood of Prahlad. He just sees himself as a servant. The servant. This is the mood we have to cultivate. This mood of service to others, respect to others. We may not be the same on the material platform. We may not have been in the movement as long as others. We may not be, whatever it is, we're all different. But we all try to develop this mood of service towards others. Vaishnava Seva, Jiva Doya, Nam Seva. These are the principal, you can say, emphasis of Lord Chaitanya's movement. These are the 3 factors, Vaishnava Seva, to serve the devotee, also Jiva Doya. We may serve devotees differently. You can read in Nectar Devotion how that is evoked, how we can serve the devotees accordingly. And by serving those devotees who are in this mood, by practically serving them according to their will, then that awakening of this mood in our own hearts may start to evolve. We have no enemies. Whenever anything happens to us, even amongst devotees, we try to see within our own hearts. And many of you have read numerous statements of our acharyas on how we should relate to situations when faults in others cause us trouble, etc., only because of our conditioned nature. How we should look within and see, what is this Krishna is trying to teach? What is it I have to purify about my heart, which is making me think so ill about this person or whatever? The pure devotee has no enemy. He simply feels compassion for all. He simply wants to awaken pure devotion in everyone's hearts. Next one. Everyone is praying to Krishna about protection. Who actually gets the protection, like when the German ladies? Actually, everyone gets the protection. It may not be in the way we think it is. It's like children who have 6 kids. And they're all different, and one thing pleases one and another thing pleases the other. And sometimes you don't give, and sometimes you give. But the mentality of the parents is always to the benefit of all 6 children, although they may not appreciate it like that. For various reasons, Krishna is always acting in a way to ultimately help every living entity to wake up. but we don't listen. We don't hear. So he sends his pure devotees to help remind us. Still, we don't hear, but that's our choice. We're not fortunate. The Lord may in the heart, and Prabhupada talked about that in his lecture, actually. He talked about that. That the Lord within the heart, what's the word? I can't remember Prabhupada used the word. He awakens, he enlivens the particular person to say, yes, I'll take it. But it's all according to their particular inner state of consciousness, so to speak. And, but when they come in contact with a devotee or whatever it is, they may become positive, negative, neutral, whatever it may be. But that's the Lord in their heart, inspiring them within their heart, according to their desire. The Lord doesn't interfere with the desire of the devotee. The devotee does. The devotee tries to. So Krishna also, because the devotee is so determined to help that person, the Lord is obligated to reciprocate. But how he reciprocates is another thing. It's their desire, the Lord's desire, our desire, that that person will say, no way, I'm not going to take this. And then that person may go away and have a very strange experience. Maybe even a dream. We hear so many times like this, of people having dreams afterwards, and they change their whole approach. They go back to that. There are many examples in our life of this. Or they go away and have a hard experience of something, they start to rethink, or they do something. But ultimately it's for their benefit. So the contact with the devotee is always beneficial, always beneficial. Next one. One should learn to become das, anudas. It's very easy in material life to try to act according to your material position, which you may mean guiding people to do their responsibilities. This would mean we would indirectly start to forget the mood of becoming das and lording over the person who is under us in terms of, yeah, well, of course that's the case. I mean, every one of us has a certain amount of responsibility for others. It's a matter of cultivating in this mood of seeing Krishna in the center and seeing this as a service rather than, as being, you say, a situation where I can express my superior position over somebody. In other words, as long as we're thinking we're the enjoyer, this type of mentality will be there. That I'm the controller of whatever it may be it humans, be it animals, be it the material nature. But one who's understanding, we are, you could say, enjoyers in relation with Krishna, but we're not separate enjoyers. So when we see ourselves in relation with Krishna and understand how everything's meant to be connected to Krishna, then this situation will change. It's a matter of time. By proper association, by hearing from Shastra, by hearing from devotees, by some little bit by experience, but mainly by hearing, that we can gradually change this outlook. And even in our work, we see examples. We see great examples of this in the case of Srila Prabhupada. In the case of great devotees, we read in Shastra. How it appears sometimes they're very strong. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj would be seen as like a lion sometimes. People were afraid of him practically. But in his heart of hearts, he was just thinking of love, how to, in a loving way, how to help each and every living entity to come to Krishna consciousness. We can't imitate that. We're still conditioned. And we do get carried away by our conditioning and become a lord, see ourselves as a lord of others, a controller of others, better than others, etc. But by service to the pure devotees, by the mercy of Krishna, that consciousness can change. It just may take time. It can happen in a moment if we actually surrender. But it usually takes time. We're so attached to our conditioning. We're so identifying with it. That, this is me, this is mine. We're so attached to these things usually. It may take some time before that change of heart takes place. And just try to be very careful. And a repentant heart, being willing to accept, to hear. Basically, it's being willing to hear from others. In the material world, it's very hard to hear from others unless it is something which fulfills my own illusory concept. We don't like to hear from others. We usually react against it. How should one learn to become? By hearing, hearing from others. Embodied souls neglected and not careful for you. Can Krishna neglect anyone in the life? No, he doesn't. I mentioned that indirectly earlier on. He doesn't neglect them. It appears like that. He puts them, as I said before, the government puts people into a hospital or a prison. They're not neglected. They appear to be out of the cycle of the day-to-day world that we live in, but they're not completely neglected, or they appear to be, because they want to be. Krishna's reciprocating. If you don't want to be with Krishna, is Krishna going to force us? No. He's not going to force us. The devotee may try. They come into this world to try to change that mentality, but basically speaking, okay, you don't want to know about me? Okay, here you are, going to the Devi doll, under the control of them. Like that. He puts us in that situation because that's our choice. He's not neglecting us exactly, because he accompanies us as the super soul, guiding our wanders, but is according to our desire and then ultimately our karma, in this world according to our karmas also. But it's Krishna's in the heart. He's arranging these things. He's arranging for us in this material world. Although it appears he's neglecting us because we're suffering and this and that. What's he doing about it? But this is all part of our flash of a moment existence in this material energy to try to bring us to our senses and bring us back to our spiritual consciousness. He's not neglecting us exactly, but it appears like that. Well, the pure devotee's mood is, in a sense, is expressing this mood indirectly. They've been, out of our choice, we're being rejected Krishna, and therefore Krishna keeps himself hidden from us. What's the next one? Down, I can't see. Where?
How do we view?
How do we view atheists, Mayavadis, who sometimes appear more well-behaved or show more good morals? How should we relate to them? Well, on the external platform, mundane people may also, materially speaking, seemingly have good qualities, material qualities, etc. But as, again, we hear later on, what's that verse? Te vidu svartakatemi Vishnu. Is that the one? No? I think so. What's that one that said, even though they have very good qualities? Huh? Oh, yes, Yashasti Bhakti. Actually, that's coming up. That's in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj in the 5th canto. Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavata Kinchana Guna Savatatta Samasata Arava Bhaktasya Kato Mahalpanat Manobadi. I don't know. Anyway, it says that even though one may appear to have good qualities, what's the use of those good qualities? What's the use of them? They're only relative, according to the modes of nature. When we say someone's beautiful and someone's not beautiful, it's not actually the reality. It's just a description of the present situation, which whatever modes of nature they're under, or being, are manifesting in that point of time. They may look beautiful, ugly according to our condition, or they may appear to have good qualities or not good qualities according to our condition. But the real quality of the jiva is when they're manifest, when they're in connection with Krishna. If you look at a reflection of something, it may look nice, but what's the value of it? Right? You look in the mirror, and you say, for instance, you think you're beautiful, you look in the mirror and you see a beautiful reflection, but what's the value of that reflection? Can you do anything with it? So you look at it. Is it going to help anyone? I really love you, and you send somebody, a picture, okay, it may have some kind of emotional effect, but it's not the same. The reality is what the real person, the real quality of the soul is when we're connected with Krishna. Otherwise, what's the value? Even if they appear in the material world as good qualities, what's the use of those qualities? Because they just keep people in illusion. So a pure devotee has compassion on all. You may avoid the Mayavadi or the atheist to some extent because they don't want to. They may commit offense, or they blaspheme, or whatever, or they just have no interest whatsoever at this stage of their consciousness. So the devotees may still give them some opportunity. And we're talking pure devotees. We ourselves are still aspiring recipients for that mercy. But the pure devotees may still shower mercy upon them in the sense of giving them some opportunity to connect through prasadam or service or something or another, even if they are averse to devotion service. But, you have to use common sense when dealing with any situation. If you're a doctor, you have to use your common sense and obviously try to cure those who are most, especially if you're in a battlefield situation, those are usually most easy to revive. So naturally you're going to go, because then those who are revived can then help others to revive. You have to use a bit of common sense there. But there's no aversion towards anyone. Maybe their philosophy, obviously, even Jesus Christ said, hate the sin, not the sinner. Isn't it? Because the person is pure, eternal servant of Krishna, just covered over. So you have to use a little common sense. Next one. Here. Show the next question, please. I've already done that one. Next one. Please accept. Yeah, okay. Sometimes in the material world, when we keep an attitude of being a servant, others may take advantage of us or exploit our submissiveness. When the world is full of such dangers, how can we continue having word of a servant? Yes, but you've got to know how to serve as well. Prabhupada sometimes gives the example of the disciple of Narada Muni. He had a snake. Narada Muni is very careful. I mean, we don't go out into the jungle and start trying to preach to snakes, by the way. This is an example of that. I'm a servant of everyone, my dear snake, my dear cobra. Please, we start to, please embrace, I want to embrace you in devotional service, please come, let's come together. You have to use your common sense. But anyway, Narada Muni was able to preach even to snakes. And he had maybe more than one, but he had a snake disciple. And the snake disciple then, he said, now you become a snake now. Now you become a devotee, so you can't bite people anymore. So everyone was taking advantage and beating the snake, throwing stones at it, so many things. And the poor snake was all cut and bruised and came back to Narada. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I'm trying to follow instruction not to harm anybody, and now everyone's beating me. And then Narada said, you don't bite anyone, but if anyone comes, you put your hood up, and they'll go away. So we've got to be careful with that example, of course. But in principle, yes, don't forget we are also one of the souls, conditioned souls, one of the fallen souls who needs protection. So you have to little common sense and not that we're just going to, yes, whatever you say, okay. We have to have a little bit of common sense dealing with this material world to know to what point. We have to be a little bit careful to avoid it or to, to some extent, without any ill feeling, without any aggression and such, defend ourselves a little bit in certain circumstances. But it's always in the mood of service, how I can help this other person to become Krishna conscious, which we don't have that mood, no doubt. But that's the mood of a pure devotee. He would sometimes, you see with Prabhupada, sometimes he would become quite angry, it would seem, with persons who were, of a challenging nature, depending on the situation, but he would sometimes. And if we're trying to help people to understand that, their real self-interest is to surrender to Krishna, to take shelter of pure devotional service. So we have to do the needfulness. Being humble is not much, so-called humble, not much use if it doesn't help the other person in their devotional service. It doesn't help us, doesn't help them, especially if they're blasphemous or critical or whatever. We have to take things, we have to act accordingly. How should one learn to become? It's the same question.
Yes, Manish.
What's next? Even in you're driving, are you? You're driving? Okay, well, chant Hare Krishna while you drive. That's a good thing to do. How important to know the qualification and my adhikar and qualification and act accordingly to it. Nicely progress on the path of devotion service. How can I understand perfectly my adhikar? Well, when we become perfect, we'll understand our adhikar. And when we follow the perfect, it will become a little clearer. We have two swadharmas. Swadharma material means our occupation, constitution. We have our material constitution. It's not constitutional eternally, but it's within the material world, our adhikar, our eligibility, materially and spiritually. So in the material world, traditionally, of course, society made it a little bit easier. Nowadays, it's not so easy. But in the association of the pure, one who's rightly situated, it becomes a little easier to understand what our position is. Now, we understand theoretically our eternal position as servant. In the material, what is our position as servant may be a little more confusing. And it may take some time. And usually, if we're talking in terms of devotional service, let's say, we come to devotional service and we may do 101 different services. We may not really know where I fit. Many people don't know. One day we feel like we're a Shudra. Next day we feel like we're a Brahmin. Next minute we feel like we're a Vaishya. And 2 minutes ago we felt like we were Kshatriya. We go through, and the next minute think I'm an anti-Jew, I'm an outcast, I'm not qualified for anything. I'm just fool number one. So we go through these various, you can say, confusions, but by gradually purifying our heart, by continuing, even though we may make mistakes, we may have false understanding who we are, we continue to serve the pure devotee to the best capacity, even if it's, as Krishna said, better than perform your duty, even if it's imperfect, rather than the duty of others, even if you can do it well. So in our case, it's serving under the direction and guidance of the pure devotee or his representatives, and gradually it usually becomes a little clearer where we fit in, even in this world, as we mature a little bit. We may be attached to our comfort zones, but it usually becomes a little clearer after some time, usually if we're actually following a pure devotee of the Lord. Now, materially speaking, there are ways of understanding one's adhikar and the Varnashram system. There are ways, it's a very big topic, and in our moment we can't really go deep in there, not by having a realization of it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Sikshamrit gives quite a lot of directions how to understand our nature in this material world. But because of our upbringing, our education, and our association, oftentimes these things are clouded over, and it takes a while for the clouds to be removed before we can see the clear sky of our consciousness. So our main thing is try to serve, keep chanting, serve the Vaishnavas, do whatever service we can do under their guidance. So ultimately, yes, it's important to know adhikar. Bhagavad Gita also emphasizes this. It's very, very valuable. And when we say adhikar, it doesn't just refer to our occupational activity, it refers to our eligibility to hear transcendental subjects, which is probably even more important than our occupational adhikar or our occupational capacity. Our ability, we imitate. We try to hear subject matters which are actually way beyond our present level of consciousness to understand or to properly understand or to even apply in our lives. And the result of that can be very negative, very detrimental to our spiritual advancement. So we have to be very careful. Again, under the guidance of devotees, under the guidance of the spiritual masters, we can avoid that. So very careful. Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada was very careful with that, very cautious with that. He said this is the greatest danger of our movement. If we try to imitate the advanced devotees prematurely, imitating advanced devotees, we act according to our level of adhikar or eligibility to hear transcendental subject matters, what instructions are relevant to us. In other words, we take an instruction which is relevant to someone else in a different state of level of consciousness, and it will not have the same effect. It's a very simple example. Whether it's medicine, whether it's education, whatever, it has to be according to our condition. The word causeless is used for unmotivated. So today's verse, how do we understand the meaning? Causeless mercy. It has no material cause. When we say causeless, there are different ways of looking at it, but generally speaking, it's not because of material eligibility. Lord Chaitanya's mood was whether you're qualified or not qualified, willing or not willing, he was the ocean of causeless mercy, distributed the holy name. So following in his footsteps, we have that same mood, although in practice, of course, there has to be discrimination, but the principle behind it is causeless. It has no material cause. I'm only going to preach to this type or that type. Practically we may, but in the heart or the root, the mood behind it is for everyone. How we can give Krishna consciousness to everyone, irrelevant of their material. Lord Chaitanya's Patita Pavan, deliverer of all, the most full. Serving the servant, the servant, the servant, the servant. For me, it is my pleasure to treasure. Yes, we should remember this mood. It helps us. Next one. Being steadfast, regulated and disciplined in devotion service. Okay, especially in lack of association. Well, I'm not the right one to ask about being regulated and in that sense at all. I must say I'm going through a very unusual stage of life where regulation is a little unusual. But steadfast, well, we have to associate, as you say, by association of devotees. We can develop those qualities of steadfastness, resolute in our determination to persevere in Krishna consciousness through prayer, hearing regularly from Srimad Bhagavatam, association with devotees. Well, what to say? If we don't want the association with devotees, why not? That means there must be some reason there. Offense on our part. We first let me look at our own hearts and not say because they're all this and that, they're bad association. Sometimes we may say some things like this, but this is the thing. When Prabhupada one devotee wrote a letter to Prabhupada and said, I have no association. Prabhupada said, then you read my books carefully. You say, if it's a fact, if we're having no association because of our own, I don't want to type of thing, that's something that has to change ultimately. That is not that's a warning sign. If we start, it's one of the signs that we're actually advancing spiritually, like we want the association of devotees. It's the only thing which will change our heart and purify our hearts ultimately. So that is kind of like if we want to become steadfast, if we want to become regulated, we're not here just to become regulated, by the way. The regulations are here to help us to become steadfast, to help us to become pure, to help us to become Krishna conscious. They're not ultimately that niyama agraha. Otherwise, if they don't help us to progress in spiritual life, then they can become an obstacle in spiritual life. So without the association of devotees, we won't know them. This whole movement has been, it's there, this ISKCON movement. Prabhupada has created this movement for that purpose, to give us association. Association is the key factor. So if we're thinking negative, then we have to really be careful and look at ourselves and why am I thinking this? And it's not a favorable state of consciousness to not want to associate with devotees. It may be there sometimes. It may go through these stages. And it may be individually that we may not be able to associate with certain devotees. But as a general principle, we should hanker to associate with devotees. This is the only thing that a devotee wants, is the association. Without the association of devotees, I can think, Ramananda Roy said, I can think of no greater misery than to be without the association of devotees. When he was asked by Lord Chaitanya, this is the greatest suffering, which we're all experiencing from time to time. We know that. But we have to understand that that association of devotees is the most valuable treasure we have. Most valuable treasure. Yes, interlude. A sideline and question or comment. Yes.
I just wanted to first just keep talking about association of devotees. What is association of devotees?
What is association of devotees? You sit down together and fight with each other about who gets the extra gulab jamun.
We go to the restaurant and drink coffee.
Yeah. We go out together. We go to the cinema together. We go on holiday together to the beach and sit there sunbathing and talking about the weather. Okay, yeah, is that association with devotees? Well, it could be to a small degree, depending. Maybe better than associating with a beer drinking, somebody or another. But really, association with devotees is that association which helps us to get closer to Krishna, helps us to engage in the appropriate way which will bring us closer to Krishna, to attract us to the deities, to attract us to hearing Bhagavatam, to attract us to only honoring prasadam, to attract us to preach Krishna consciousness, to attract us to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to chant the holy names more and more and more and more and more. That association which picks up our spirits, that association which, just reminds us of Krishna. This is association of devotees. That association which helps us to remind us to do the necessary on our progress path. We may not directly remind us of Krishna, but reminds us of the value of doing service which is pleasing to Krishna. It could go on and on with this. But it's that which brings us closer to Krishna, no matter what stage we're on. Just like the association of a person on the street, you go out on Sankirtan, that the associate they don't know they're associating with this weird looking bald man, this funny lady in a kind of a paint on her face or whatever it is, or nothing at all. They don't know they're associated. They're not thinking like that. I hope today I will get the chance to associate with a devotee. People don't think like that when they go shopping. But some or another, the devotee is there, and they get that association, but they don't know it. So the devotee said, it's nice to see you. You're a very kind, wonderful person. There's not even a devotional interaction necessarily in terms of Krishna consciousness exactly. But that person is getting some agyata sukriti, some unknowing good fortune of having an interaction with a devotee whose intention is to try to help that person to come a step towards Krishna. So the association of Krishna or the association of devotees is that which helps us to make one step forward towards Krishna, or many steps, but a step at least towards Krishna. Other religious traditions have their own prayers. Other religious traditions have their own prayers. We know that Srila Bhaktivinoda predicted the time will come when the Buddhists, Jews, Mohammedans, everyone will congregate to praise the Lord together. What a wonderful day, that day will come. Is that true? Prabhupada many times say, or write that by Krishna consciousness, the wood will turn into Vaikuntha. Are we coming close to this time? Well, everyone will chant the Maha Mantra or any God's name. Well, it would be lovely to say that. I think when we have it in our hearts, we've got to look at our own heart. Yes, the Acharyas have said this, that everyone comes together, all working together, all loving. Although we have our different ways, our different prayers, our different conditioning and so on, but all working with the same common denominator. The more we have that in our own hearts, the more there's a chance that will evoke in others. But we still have differential mentalities of hates and loves and this in our own heart. I hate these people, I don't like these, I don't agree with that, and so on and so forth. So much duplicity in our own heart. It's very hard to evoke anything but that in others. And we generally tend to attract people with a similar kind of mentality. So when the heart's actually pure, there are no such thing. One sees the unifying effect of all religions, genuine religions, let's say. And if there is something ungenuine, one will be very concerned that the practitioners of that path come to the genuine teachings, etc. Otherwise, they're doing themselves harm. So we don't want that. But I'm only repeating the words of the pure devotee. Their mentality is they don't want that. We still have this, let's say, seeing things in how it affects me. The pure devotee sees how it affects Krishna. And Krishna gives us a path to come to him and we change it. How does that affect Krishna? Certainly doesn't please me at all. So the pure devotee is always trying to bring people around to act in a way which pleases Krishna according to that situation. We can't change it. If we change the education system, we don't get the result. If you change the formula, you don't get the result. And parent may become angry, the teacher may become angry, because they see that this is not going to work. So they want to help us to make that little step towards perfection. The pure devotee is seeing that. The closer we get to the ultimate goal, the more unity will be. When we're a long distance, we can give an example. I'm in France right now. We're south of Paris. Somebody else is in England, they're north of Paris. Our goal is Paris. The directions may seem a little different. But the closer we get to Paris, the more we can see unity. The more we can see the common unity between all. Genuine. If it's the wrong direction, that's something else we have to correct. But if the direction is correct, even though it may be a different direction, because we're situated differently, the pure devotee, being transcendental to this, can see how this is going on. Conditioned souls can only see their own path, and thus they think others' paths are off the wall. They're wrong. But for that person at that point of time, that path, if they follow it properly, is not the wrong path. It's not wrong. It may not be complete, but it's not wrong. They're getting on the way. Maybe they're only getting the direction to get to the bus station, but it's correct. Then they have to get on the bus to go the next leg of the journey. You can't say it's wrong. I told you to catch the bus. Why are you walking? But you're walking to the bus station to catch the bus. But somebody who doesn't know may think they're wrong. You've got to go by bus, because I'm going by bus. So we have to, what can I say? We can't have to. We have to become more purified to see to see how things are. But that takes Otherwise, we can follow a pure devotee and just work under their direction and assist them to achieve this common goal. And there's so many questions this morning. We're going to be here all day. Which one are we on?
This last one.
Oh, Vaikuntha. Yeah. Prabhupada said we can make this word Vaikuntha, but if we're not in Vaikuntha, we won't see it like that. Is it possible to bring back the real association of devotees from misunderstanding to loving exchange again and forget the negative? Yes, it is. Nothing is impossible if we remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj Maharaj said, if one remembers Lord Chaitanya, impossible things become easy. If one forgets him, easy things become impossible. So if we put Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Sankirtan movement, nothing is impossible. We have to have faith is you could say, the potent ingredient in our devotional practice, which like if you're trying to light a fire, you've got to have some combustible item, be it oil or gas or electricity, something has to be there to ignite. So that faith if we don't have faith, we're not going to get very far. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada had implicit faith in the holy name, therefore this movement is spreading. The more we have faith in the pure devotee and holy name of Krishna, everything is possible. Nothing is impossible. We leave it up to Krishna. Let's try to cultivate this faith. Not that we should be ordered, like God is not our order supplier, and if it doesn't happen, we give up. No. Our business is to try to, in our hearts, cultivate the qualities of devotional service and to practically apply the principles of devotional service simultaneously so that will naturally evoke our attraction towards Krishna in our hearts, and that will naturally attract others. It's not an artificial imposition. It is an awakening of the natural qualities of the eternal jiva, his eternal svadharma in the heart by proper association, behavior, and in the association of devotees, developing that faith in the holy name of Krishna. Nothing is impossible. Prabhupada said impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, thank you all very much. I see there's only me left on the screen. So there's nobody else left.
No, Maharaja.
Only I'm here. Everyone else is gone. Okay. Well, maybe they've all gone on Sankirtan. It's Saturday. Oh, we can't go because of lockdown. Oh, what to do? We can do Sankirtan. When Prabhupada was here in New Mayapur, he asked the devotees, he said, are you all doing Sankirtan? And the devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, we only go out once a week. And Prabhupada said, why only once a week? He said, well, we're in a farm, we're a long way from the city. No, he said, Sankirtan here in the temple, he said. He said, Sankirtan here in New Mayapur, so you can do Sankirtan in your home. Let's all do Sankirtan all over the world. Some of you in America, some of you in England, some in New Zealand. I see a lot of New Zealanders, some in Malaysia, some are in Australia. I don't know where. In the Philippines, where is this? Lithuania or Latvia or Estonia? Where else are we here? Not that New Zealand. I don't know. India. I can see India there. Where else is it? Where else? Oh, I can see Singapore. No. Where else is everyone? Europe. Many from Europe. Fiji. I see Fiji there. And France, of course, is there. Ireland is there. And Slovakia, Czech Republic. More from India. And all over the place. Germany is there. And maybe a few other countries too. Hare Krishna, United Nations. This is United Nations. Wonderful. Wonderful. Philippines. We don't know where everybody is, so I can't say. There's one mysterious person I'm looking at right now. We don't know where he is. Let's Gokul. Hare Krishna Gokul in London. Haribol, where's your husband? Is he there? Hey, Krishnadas, Haribol. Long time, boy. Hare Krishna. Jai. Oh, wonderful. You can't say hello to everybody, but I offer my obeisances to everyone and wish you all the very best. Remain forever locked down at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. Stay there forever. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Rasikananda, your family. I can see you all there. Wellington and everyone else. Hare Krishna. Haribo, Sydney, everyone's there. Wow. York. The Grand Old Duke of York is online this morning. Hare Krishna. Haribo, Vrindavaneshwari. Hare Krishna, everybody else. Yeah, is that it?
Yes, Maharaj.
We're off. Hare Krishna. Haribo, Auckland. Haribo. Hare Krishna. Haribo.
Vibo.
Hare Krishna.